Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, I share this chairman's frustration and other frustrations that have been here, because at a certain point in time, you say, again, that they just don't want to cooperate. We got 5 cities said we're just not going to cooperate. I was just looking on your website, DHS website, you've got a vast array that you deal with. I want to get ahead of the game. Let's decide, because I'm from a state level, I was in a state legislature, and I know cities and states are struggling financially right now. They have, as you've used the term, which I do not agree with, that this is simply a prosecutorial discretion issue, resources issue. One of the things is cybersecurity that you deal with, and you enforce cybersecurity laws, you work with law enforcement on the local and state level to do that. What if now they just don't have the resources to do that, and they said, you know, we're just not going to enforce that. We're not going to cooperate with you, Mr. Secretary. Would you have an opinion on that?
Absolutely. We would engage. We would encourage them to do otherwise, presumably. Yes, sir.
Okay, but we would it's an interesting thing, because you said to Mr. Smith earlier, and there's other things, you know, from economic security, everything, you said you had no opinion on sanctuary cities. But yet to the chairman just now, you said you agree with the spirit of his question.
Yes.
So what is it? Do you have an opinion? Do you have a spirit? Do you have a sudden moving internally? What do you feel about this issue? Why can we not have the United States government pass law, and then you have an opinion? You either have an opinion, you don't have an opinion, you agree with the spirit, you don't agree with the spirit. The American people, it's just hard to understand here.
Well, let me make this clear. I believe that the most effective way to address and enhance public safety is to work cooperatively with state and local law enforcement. As a result of our prior...
So I'm going to stop right there, though. So the Supremacy Clause is optional. Is the Supremacy Clause optional? I'll let you answer.
May I finish my sentence?
Go ahead.
I believe that as a result of the prior policy, we were inhibited in our ability to promote public safety. With the new policy, I believe we'll be in a much better position to work effectively and cooperatively with law enforcement. I do not believe that federal legislation mandating the behavior of a lot of sheriffs and police chiefs is the way to go. I believe it will lead to more litigation, more controversy, and it will be counterproductive.
The Supremacy Clause question you never answered, but the question you just said there, so you don't believe that mandating what law enforcement in this country does from a congressional perspective, because we're the only ones that Congress does the law writing.
I do not believe...
So they can pick and choose what they want to just overwhelmingly.
I do not believe that the federal government and the U.S. Congress should mandate the behavior of state and local law enforcement.
So civil rights could be optional?
The most effective way to do this is cooperatively with the new program, and I believe it is going to yield very positive results, sir.
In the spirit of this, your request, so civil rights are optional for states and locals to enforce?
I don't think that mandating an approach by this Congress is the way to go. I think it will be hugely counterproductive, and it will set
So the Civil Rights Act was counterproductive?
My public safety efforts in this regard.
No, Mr. Johnson, I want to go back to what you're saying, because it goes at the heart of what we're saying. So you're saying the Civil Rights Act was overreach. You're saying that they shouldn't be enforcing this. I think we're getting at the issue of here, because at a certain point in time, when does it become just wholesale abandonment of prosecutorial discretion when you just say we're not going to do this? I agree with prosecutorial discretion. But what you're saying, if you just take a whole class off the table, in the best sentiments that you want, because it leads to other issues like the earned income tax credit, or folks are eligible. The decisions you have affect other issues than simply saying we're going to hold somebody or not. We're going to address the earned income tax credit issue with legislation I'm going to draw, but it has more to do with what do we pick and choose to enforce. And I don't think, I'm not sure still what your opinion is, because you've, again, not answered it. You just said we'll work with them. I just don't, my question is, before you come back next year, whenever it is, if we have this hearing again, is what if some of these agencies decided they didn't want to enforce something you thought they should? Where's the screaming? Where's the outrage? Where's the when should Congress pass anything? If there is no Supremacy Clause, if there is no work that what we do to protect civil rights, to protect other things, when does each department get to decide that they're not going to enforce their federal jurisdiction on states and localities who simply say, you know, we're not going to do it right now?
May I answer?
Well, I stopped and asked a question. That's your response time.
Yes, all right. I have 2 seconds.
No, the chairman will give you all the time. If you'll answer that, I will give you all the time you need.
I want to enforce the law. May I, Chairman?
Yes, sir, you may
I
answer
want
the
to
question.
enforce the law in a way that maximizes public safety and border security. That means going after the criminals. A big problem with doing that are the number of jurisdictions, I don't know what label you want to put on them, sanctuary cities or otherwise, that have erected ordinances, laws, policies that inhibit cooperating with immigration enforcement. In my judgment, and in the judgment of a lot of other border security, immigration enforcement experts, the way to most effectively work with these jurisdictions, again, is a cooperative one, not by hitting them over the head with federal legislation that will engender a lot more litigation. And I believe we're on the path to do that, sir.
Mr. Secretary, I respect that opinion. I think what you have opened up, though, is a Pandora's box on other things that they don't want to enforce because of other reasons that they'll come up with. And just because this is a political issue for this administration, they're going to let that go. But you do open the Pandora's box to what they will enforce and what they won't enforce. And that's not what the average American understands when they learn black letter law and they understand what's right and what's wrong with that. I yield back.
Gentleman's time has expired. The chair would now recognize